Ombudsman Justice Conchita, you have 1 minute and 30 seconds to make your case.
All right. As I have earlier stated in a public discussion, I am for absolute divorce. To me, absolute divorce is the solution to the societal problems attendant to dysfunctional marriages and dysfunctional families that result from it. Thus, it's the state's obligation to carry out its mandate to protect the welfare of the people by legislating a law on absolute divorce. And it breaks my heart to know that some legislators are not for absolute divorce, despite the fact that we know for a fact that some are infidel and therefore are not true to their opposition against absolute divorce. Thank you.
Very well said.
That was a very strong opening statement, if I may say so.
That marriage
Divorce on families and the broader family structure.
Of the family, which the
And the broader family structure.
all right, marriage is, as they say, an inviolable social institution and the foundation of the family, which the state is duty bound to protect. But the state is supposed to be aware that this inviolable constitution is founded on the concept that a marriage is blissful, is happy, and is in harmony with your wife, with your husband, with your children, and with the community in which you live in. Unfortunately, this is not the case in some, if not most cases, of marital discords. You see, the Constitution, while it says that it is that family is or marriage is supposed to be an inviolable constitution, it is mandated also to protect the welfare of the people. First, let's interpret a particular provision of the Constitution, set it apart from the rest of the provisions. When we construe a certain provision, we should consider the other provisions of the Constitution, so that there will be harmony, so that there will be no inconsistency, so that there should be no discord. Thus, we should not construe a constitutional provision in its literal sense, but it should be construed in a sense, in a modified sense, so that we can harmonize the entire provisions of the Constitution. Now,
I think we're out of time, Ombudsman,
It's
but
okay.
I think
It's
you
okay.
made a point
Okay.
on that subtopic.
all right.
And you will have time for interpolations.
Okay. I was
Thank-
not looking at the timer.
Yes.
I was
That's
not
okay.
aware of the timer.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Thank you very much, Ombudsman Justice. Now, let's hear the negative side's position. Your
the Constitution is the foundation. So it as a whole,
So much, Attorney J.P. Calleja. We now proceed to interpolation. Each side may take turns asking questions throughout this exchange.
Marriages
yes,
that can be
Discipline throughout this exchange. Who would like to begin? Perhaps Ombudsman?
well.
Because
Can you cite instances which can be called irreparable marriages
yes,
that can be repaired
that can be repaired.
because they're supposed to be irreparable, but they can be repaired if you are not for absolute divorce?
Yes. There's a question on loyalty of male, but this is sometimes this can be repaired actually, but if the person goes into therapy, and I mean marriage needs by both spouses.
Repeatedly, should also
By both spouses.
suppose the violence is staccato. It is it is committed repeatedly. Should also the couple go through repeated tests or consultations with experts?
Thank you for that question, Madam Justice. And Address Justice will react.
And everywhere, but these statistics can
Depression and suicide are closely linked with divorce and single parenting.
well, it's not the monopoly of the United States. It's prevalent everywhere. But these statistics can lie. America may have that kind of statistics, but not in Japan. Of course, there's a lot of suicides in Japan, but not because of marital discord or divorces. But that is not unusual. So that should not be a good ground to rebel or to stop the grant of divorce.
And we have, we have
Actually,
4 seconds left for the interpolation. So those are great questions. Because
Indeed.
I think on both sides, they raise good points. Homosexuality.
Constitution and shall be protected by the state. So in the wordings of the Constitution for application, there's no room for construction.
Of legal constructive speech on this topic.
All right. The potential legal effects of divorce is that, you give financial stability to the offending spouse because the offender, no, if to the offended spouse because the offending spouse may have neglected his or her responsibility to his spouse, to their children, and to others who are mandated to be cared for by the couple. Again, financial and custody matters will be settled. Such settlement is one of the legal effects of the grant of divorce. Then also, of course, the division of conjugal property would be settled, the payment of debts incurred during the marriage, as well as the use of the name, marital or maiden name of the wife, if in case the wife is the offended spouse. Now, you were asking for social effects also
Yes.
of marriage is that you would free the offended couple, the offended wife, from the pain, the anger, the hostility, the depression attendant to the irreparable marriage that offended spouse is going through. And of course, it takes time before probably the divorce effects will be felt. But given the resilience of the Filipinos, it will come a time when you will be able to absorb the social effects of divorce.
Thank you so much, Ombudsman Justice.
Let's go back to the stake and anyway, the marriage frustrate older against
Specifically on this subject.
of the good justice
The effect
that are also children-centered.
to begin with, divorce would, in the first place, affect the couple. The effect on the children would come later if divorce is granted. Now, even children now who see their parents who are in the verge of quarreling almost every day are even the ones who advise their parents, why don't they just separate? Why don't they just ask for divorce? They are aware of the father who is philandering and neglects to carry out his responsibilities. So the children themselves are the ones who are asking their parents to secure divorce. So why do you say that the children would not be considered in the first place when you talk of divorce?
To choose their classmates with
If you factor in
classmates with parents and they are alone in school.
Any other question, Ombudsman Justice?
well, if you factor in the feelings of children who are the children of prospective divorcees, we will never, ever, under any circumstance in the Philippines, consider the grant of divorce.
The doctrine
Obligation to promote the general welfare of everybody.
should not be passed because it is not pro the future of these children.
Precisely, the Constitution directs the state to promote the general welfare of everybody. And therefore, if the state is not carrying out its obligation to protect the welfare of people, then it allows the destruction of marriage, it allows the suffering of the offended spouse, it allows the violence, physical and emotional, being committed against the suffering spouse.
Okay. Since we finished the time on interpellation and Ombudsman Justice Carpio raised a point related to the social effects of divorce or not allowing it, I would count that as part of your rebuttal statement, which is the next phase that we're entering right now, where you have a minute and 30 seconds, but you have because of parents patriae, meaning you're only looking out for the welfare of the children,
You protect the
not the parents or couple themselves. Do you want to add any point
well,
in this rebuttal?
there should be a balance. You protect the spouses, you protect the children, you protect the dignity of the human being. And it is in that context that the state should come in to weigh which is good for the benefit of everybody.
Attorney Calleja, your rebuttal.
You have 1 minute, 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Thank you. The rebuttal to that statement.
Heated and
On both sides.
attention to culture.
Order food you love with Food Panda. Download the app and order now.
So, bestie. Nagsha-shopping ka na naman? Yes! Nang pang back to school dahil sigurado
Watching Abogado, Ombudsman Conchito Carpio Morales, while Attorney JP Calleja stands on
Legal progress with moral
Thanks.
Yes.
All right.
Legal progress with moral conviction. Let's hear from our debaters, beginning with your constructive speech. Justice, Ombudsman.
Well, we're talking about ethics. All right. And moral considerations. Ethics is supposed to be a standard of behavior. In this country, anything affecting marriage under existing laws are arrived at with a consideration of family-oriented values and a religion, of course. And that's probably the reason why we are the only country in the world, except the Vatican and Rome, which does not have absolute divorce. The family-oriented values of Filipinos, however, do not rule out any deleterious situations within the family that affect the sanctity of marriage or cause disharmony and trouble destruction of the marriage bonds and family ties. Another reason, of course, why we're so slow in trying to talk about divorce is our beliefs, which are anchored on religion. But let me say that there is no equal protection of the law in the Philippines because they allow divorce in the Muslim areas because they believe that Islam allows so, whereas the Catholics, which are predominant in number in the Philippines, are not allowed. So there's a violation of the equal protection of the law clause.
Yeah.
Attorney Calleja, your 1 minute and 30-second constructive.
Congress any will
Chito Gascon.
Of 3 minutes for each side to ask questions.
Well, is it not that portion you mentioned about Father Bernias asking Chito Gascon to justify your theory that that portion shows that divorce was not within the context of the Constitutional Convention proceedings? But even the Supreme Court quoted that to indicate that indeed divorce is not ruled out ultimately. Is it that? That was quoted by the Supreme Court
it was quoted by the Supreme Court, but that was
in the country.
yes. However, this Gascon-Bernas exchange happened on 26. Urbanus against it, like,
Question, Attorney Calleja, for
don't you think that
If it's already irreparable and it is beyond help or beyond salvaging it, why do we still have to care, think of whether we can still save it? But even the church indicates that it can allow civil divorce. Remember in the catechism, it says that if civil separation, if civil divorce is the only way by which we can give protection and care to the spouses as well as the children and protect them from inheritance issues, then to have to have civil separation, to grant civil separation is tolerated and is not a moral offense.
thank you so much, Justice. Yeah, in fact, civil
You think is
All right.
relevant for this subtopic of ethical
Okay,
and moral
I still maintain that absolute divorce should be granted because given the sufferings of mostly battered wives, because there are a few instances also battered husbands, how can we extricate them from the world of pain, from the world of agony, from the world of distress, if we allow them to continuously suffer and be living in misery, despite the fact that they could have other recourses, including divorce to be granted by the courts. Of course, divorce can only be granted by the courts. But to say that it is not in conformity with the constitutional provision that marriage is an inviolable social institution is, to me, unacceptable. Because, as I said, we should also consider harmonizing all the provisions of the Constitution and not taking one part or segregating one part alone and interpreting it without consideration of the other provisions as a whole.
Attorney Calleja, your
authorized in Article 50. For us, this cheapens marriage, but to the children.
to wrap up this debate, begin with the affirmative.
49.
Begin with the affirmative side.
Congress has initiated the enactment of a divorce law under the Comprehensive House Bill number 9349. Attorney Calleja laments the fact that the procedure could be summary and therefore it would not be fair for the parties. But this still can be amended, and in fact, as far as procedure is concerned, the Supreme Court can the Supreme Court can pass rules and procedures that can control the conduct of divorce proceedings. So to say that the present bill on divorce is not fair because it calls for summary procedure is not final, because it can still be amended, and as I said, the Supreme Court can enact laws respecting procedure in the conduct of divorce proceedings.
Attorney Calleja, your closing statement.
Well, I also law of the land. Thank you.
Thank you. Ombudsman Justice Conchita.
Oh yes, it is not a medical concept, it is a legal concept. And therefore, when you say it's a legal concept, you have to look at the circumstances surrounding the alleged physical, psychological incapacity, because now even doctors are no longer allowed to testify to the incapacity of any spouse. But then again, because it's a legal concept, it can be interpreted under the prevailing circumstances at the time any incapacity is committed.
A lot of subjectivity. No?
Exactly. And you know, this is